This is Get Inspired with Dr. Barb. Hi everyone, this is your host, Barbara Vocatus, host of Get Inspired with Dr. Barb. We have a fabulous guest today. All my guests are fabulous, but today I have I have a really special guest introduced to me by my dear friend Valeria. I have to mention her name. But first of all, I would like to welcome you, dear audience, to another episode of Get Inspired with Dr. Barb. Every time I have a conversation with someone who might not directly be in the classroom right now and teach children, but had some struggles in the educational system. It is always very inspiring and empowering because usually these guests have overcame it somehow and are doing amazing things in the world. And it's always very interesting to learn what helped them. And there is so much to learn from this in order to improve educational system, I think. So that's why my guest today is just so incredibly valuable. And I would like to introduce him just very briefly. His name is Gil Peterson. He is a global thought leader on business strategy, effective networking, and mastermind methodology. Just when I read this line, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just absolutely amazing. I mean, everybody would, and even I'm thinking about young people, people in high school, they need to know something about business strategy. They need to learn and have a clue about effective networking, even basics, and something about mastermind methodology, which I don't know if I know much about that. Probably a little bit, but maybe I think of different terms. But every kid, I think at the high school level, should have some basics of this. But do they, right? That's the question we can ask and talk about it too. He is co-founder and partnership director at Meet Partners, a group of companies that unites educational projects in personal and business development. Just amazing. International speaker and business strategist who helps companies to move to new levels, mastering communication management, mastermind, networking, case review, and sharing techniques. Incredible. I mean, Gil, you do it all. Expert in internal, because this is also a fun podcast. We laugh here quite a bit. Expert of internal, external communications and corporate education. So here you go. You do work in education in certain ways, right? In certain levels for certain purposes, right? It's not high school, it's not middle school, it's not elementary school, but it is education too. Life and business coach and mentor to top managers. Here you go. I mean, so many young people could learn from you. I can learn from you. I will learn from you. You're also visiting professor at multiple global universities and best-selling author of New Code of Networking, philanthropist, and social activist. And I absolutely love it because I think people who can contribute in that way to the society money extremely valuable because they understand that they need to give back, and that's how you fulfill yourself in life. And also, Gil has spoken next to such giants as Tony Robbins, and Gil, you are yourself already a giant in your fields. Welcome on the show, Get Inspired with Dr. Gil.
Thank you. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. Thank you for making me blush and reminding me of how much I have gone through and reminding me of all the successful failures I had in this beautiful life so far. And I look forward to serving the community as best as I can as someone who sees himself on different spectrums and someone who's been told many times that I have disabilities and, I've learned how to turn them all into superpowers. I will definitely find ways to inspire and give some maybe hacks and frameworks and ways of thinking way outside of the box to your audience today.
Unbelievable. But Gil, you were not, it didn't start with being a giant right away in the fields you work in. I mean, your expertise is absolutely incredible and so needed in today's world. You are on so many stages. You've been living in many countries. You've been founding your own businesses. And now you've been also advising, right, in terms of different startups. You have so much on your resume. But way back where you were starting when you were a little boy, let's say, Ray, because we all were little at some point. How was life for you, and especially in terms of education? What were your experiences in school as a little boy in elementary school, and then a little bit later too?
Thank you for taking me back on this journey. It's not an easy one to speak about because it was not fun at all. I can't tell you when it really started to become fun, but I can tell you that as long as I can remember from being a very young boy, trying to figure things out in school, trying to understand how I could fit, trying to understand, how to make friends, and learning that school was not easy for me. From a very early age, I understood that school was not easy for me, and I kept on trying to compare myself to others, seeing that others were doing much, much better. And having an older brother didn't really help at home because, my parents wanted me to be more like my older brother and like, hey, he's doing well. And that was never easy. And having a lot of young cousins near my age were also not easy because being compared to other kids while being a little bit wild kid and not having any discipline. And back then, this is going back 40 years, parents back then, at least my parents, didn't know what dyslexia was or ADHD, or what does it mean to be on the spectrum of autism. And it wasn't really common in my family to discuss such things openly back then. And even today, it's not as open in my distant family, but I've just brought it up because I was like, hey, talk about it. These are superpowers. This is great to talk about. And I remember being a teen and my parents moved to Canada and English becoming my third language after French. So being an immigrant just made it a lot more difficult, where suddenly I'm in a new country and I don't have the language. I'm already an introvert. I'm now an immigrant who doesn't speak the language. I'm dyslexic and I'm ADHD, so I can't really concentrate in class. And I don't know why. I don't know that I'm different. I'm thinking I'm just me. And the teachers don't understand how to handle me. So I became a troublemaker. And I caused
Yeah.
trouble, and I try to become the clown in the class, and I try to become the guy that buys friends with candies because I didn't know how else to become friends with him. I didn't know how to socially. I was very, very awkward. I was the tall guy, so hey, maybe the tall guy can play basketball, but no, the tall guy doesn't have coordination because he keeps on getting distracted by everything. So I wasn't really. I can't say that I was really good at anything back then. I was not the social butterfly. I was not the guy that could talk to the girls. I was not the guy that could play the sport. So in my teens, I felt like an outsider. I felt disconnected completely. And because of that, I changed schools 3 times. And it was finally in my, the third school that, don't tell everyone, but I found myself at the age of already 16 becoming quite good. Well, actually, earlier, 14 already, becoming quite good with computers and learning how to cheat. And I learned how to cheat not so I can cheat, but so that I could finally pass. And looking back at it, I was like, okay, you were being resourceful. You were being a genius. You found a way to go through the system because the system didn't understand how to help you. So, and I did the same thing in college. I was in Montreal in Canada. And I remember being in college, and first year was awful. I didn't get it. I had to go deeper into like hacking, and I had to go deeper into, again, these days it would be called cheating. These days, if they look back, they'll say, that's it, Gil. We are revoking your degree. I don't care. I put that degree in the garbage a long time ago. I never really used any of these documents of passing high schools or college or whatever. But I really did have to find a very creative way to fit in. And I couldn't fit in from school. I just had to find a way to fit in by learning how to be a little bit more social, learning how to connect with people at the deepest level possible. And that's been this journey that I've been on in the last 20 years, constantly exploring, how do I connect with people even deeper? How do I build rapport? How do I help people tune into each other? What does it mean to build relationships with other cultures? What does it mean to travel the world and make friends wherever you are? And that curiosity, that uncomfortableness that exists in the world of networking has driven me to where I am today. And it's been a very bumpy road.
Amazing. Thank you so much for this incredible story. It is similar in some ways to stories of many neurodivergent people who just go back to their memories, right? And they will tell you, I mean, I just didn't fit in. It was on multiple levels, academic level, social weather, sometimes one of them, not everything, but there was always this uncomfortable feeling and not being understood by anybody. At that time, did you have at least one adult in one of those schools, a teacher, someone who you felt like they were like getting the you need some help and they were like sensitive to your needs? Did you experience any kind of kindness from the side of adults working in those educational systems?
It's a really interesting question. I've not been asked this before, and I think I've blocked a lot of it out because it was just not experience that I wanted to go back to. Funny enough, actually, today, exactly today, is my 30-year reunion in my high school. And they
Congratulations.
invited me to this, of course, and I said, hey, I'm a little bit on the other side of the world. I'm not coming back. But when I was thinking back, I didn't want to go back. It was not a happy moment in my life in general to be in that age of my life. And maybe one day I'll sit in front of a psychologist and a therapist and they'll walk me through it and they'll be like, all right, let's deal with some of those traumas, Gil. Or maybe not. Maybe I don't need to go back. Maybe it's just what's made me today. Because going back, I can't really remember teachers that I loved. I remember my parents being very, very supportive as much as they can and trying to guide me as much as they can. Like going back now, I'm understanding that they didn't know how to deal with a kid like me. There was no education back there for parents. And even today, for myself, I'm 47 years young. I got 3 young kids. I live in Bali, but our kids have gone to school in Singapore. Our kids have gone to school in Moscow. I don't see in any of these schools very clear communication to the parents or education to the teachers how to deal with dyslexic kids, how to deal with an ADHD boy. Like, it's not really openly there. So I couldn't really have expected back then anyone to be a little bit more caring to me being different. I do remember it was a very special moment that at the age of 16, it was 16. I don't know what happened, but my parents managed to find me a tutor for math. And for somehow, and I think he just managed to click with me, I managed to learn math extremely well, extremely fast. I became a tutor for other students my age, and that's how I was able to make some money. I became one of the best students in the entire class. And I even remember, and it might be like a crazy memory, but I remember specifically that the math teacher in my class hurt his back for 2 weeks. And he couldn't really do much in the class except sit down and talk to us. And he kept on asking me to go in the front of the class on the board and write things down. And when I go back, I was like, wow, Gil, at the age of 16, you suddenly became a genius because someone managed to connect. Someone managed to kind of flick you in there. I'm sorry if I don't remember much details. This is 31 years ago. But I remember becoming a genius in math just for that 1 year. And then the year later when I went to college, I lost it all. I think, again, it was a whole teacher thing.
It is, Gil. I mean, the teacher factor is absolutely so amazing. And for anybody, for any kid, but for neurodivergent children who struggle, that sensitivity, that teacher kindness and love, because that's what I have to say, is so incredibly transformational. So you had someone, that tutor, who was not even a part of regular school system you participated in, but that person made you realize that you can be good at something. In fact, you can be very good at something. And I think that is what's so important to understand, because then you start to see in your own value, and that's how you start building your own confidence. And thank you so much for that. So I made you really reflect a little bit on that. So there are some people, right? Not too many. And also, it is sad to hear, but I'm not surprised, based on your more recent experiences with different educational systems around the world. Again, that communication is not the way we would like to see between the school systems and parents, right? And we still have a lot of issues. I mean, there's no question about it. But you mentioned that you started also thinking about, like, I have to crack this code. I have to be better at communicating with people. You started sort of like gain some awareness that this is very important, that you had to do something about it, learn about communication. What does it mean? What did you do about it? And how did you come to this conclusion, if you remember? But more specifically, even, like, what did you do? Did you start reading certain books? You started networking and observing good communicators? What specifically did you start doing?
So there were a few different, aspects of my life that suddenly had to take place when I was 18. I wanted to experiment being a full-time entrepreneur. So like not going to college, not going to university, not getting a job, but because before that I was in college or in high school and I always had some sort of a job on the side, and even I had some sort of an entrepreneurial venture on the side. But I suddenly said, okay, I'm not going to university. And I was like, my parents, they couldn't force me to. It's like, I'm going to try to not get a job. I'm going to try to start up a business in the US. I was living in Canada at the time. So I started realizing how important connections were. And jumping ahead a little bit, I'm 19 years old. I'm living in Canada, back in Canada, but in Toronto. And I'm watching some things on the internet, and suddenly there's an infomercial by Tony Robbins. And I ended up buying his CD. And then I ended up learning a lot about the power of rapport, the power of communication, the power of being a leader in a community and being able to communicate what we want, and understanding that where focus goes, energy flows, and understanding that there's so much in personal development that attracted me. And this was not reading books because, again, dyslexic man understood that reading books was not it. But audio CDs were my best thing, were best friends. I started like listening to books and personal development a lot. All the big guys back then was like Tony Robbins and Jay Abraham and Brian Tracy, Robert Kiyosaki, Eckhart Tolle, and this is going back 29 years. Now the interesting thing back then, I didn't really know what to do with that knowledge, but I kept on listening to them again and again and not understanding that it was going into my subconscious mind and reprogramming how I
Yeah.
was when I was trying to talk to a woman, like to find maybe a girlfriend, or I was trying to talk to someone in an expo, in a conference on behalf of my company. I didn't realize that I was improving in exponential rate because of that. I wasn't able to quantify how much growth I was going through, not from my job and clearly not from my education, but it was all from learning from all these mentors. Now, if I jump ahead to 33 years old, I'm living in Moscow and suddenly I get an opportunity to work with Tony Robbins. Now, at that
Amazing.
stage of my life, I'm already, a full-time entrepreneur who's got businesses, who's learned how to network, but not at a very high level yet, but who's learned how to network clearly because I managed to move from Canada to England and do different things in England for a while and play around with networking and play around with companies and play around with opportunities. And, thinking that I'm great. The ego was there. I'm like, I'm great. And suddenly at 33, I go to my first official Tony Robbins and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not as great as I thought I was. Yeah, let me like go a lot deeper into what needs to happen. And what quite magical, as soon as I came back from the event, a local university asked me to come and teach about networking. And that's when a
Wow.
lot of my life changed because I didn't realize that it was something I was really great at. I just thought it was something that I was constantly practicing to try to meet women. I was a single man. I was trying to meet, other people for business opportunities. And everything just developed from there in a very rapid way where because this university asked me to teach it, I then understood that I need to truly study it much, much better. I need to become a much better student myself in order to be a great teacher and teach it to others.
But I love, thank you so much for all this, for taking us back, because I'm constantly thinking about these young people. They graduating out of high school right now, right? And the question is, because in this world right now, when everything is just going to be really even more unpredictable than ever before. But then the price of colleges is going up and up too, right? And so many young people, they just trying to figure out like, what the heck do I do, right? And it's like, well, in high school, what do they learn? Well, they learn history, they learn English, they have, I guess they learn some basics of maybe communication. I don't know, they have like, they present a project or whatever. But we are still not teaching them more about communication because this is so valuable. And not only that, any kind of like entrepreneurial skills, business related skills, they do have some basic like economy, something like that, government, they of course learn about that. But they are not, I mean, the education system is so behind, and I'm speaking about United States, but I kind of have a feeling that it's like that everywhere. They are not prepared even, I don't know, what is the percentage of them being prepared for today's unpredictable world and for, let's say, graduating with high school and trying like a little business on their own, being a communicator who is already, I mean, not super good, right? Like you or Tony Robbins, but they have an idea, right? They have basics about how to maybe start a business. Where the heck do they learn these things? They can't learn it in school because nobody teaches this. What do you do as a young person who also financially, maybe does not have much support from the parents? There is maybe no money for college, and maybe they don't want to do college. Maybe they would go into trades, maybe, but they don't know what to do. What would be your suggestion for a young person like that? I already have one suggestion I'm learning from you. Because right now, I mean, you were listening Tony Robbins on tapes, different things, whatever was available at that time. I mean, right now we have podcasts. Everybody has cell phone, right? So they can do that. They can listen
But
to.
that's the exact position that you know, we have right now, and that's what I think is most exciting, is that the young leaders of tomorrow have everything they need in their hands right now to be able to learn what they could do next. Now, they could either listen to podcasts and take some action. They could join different communities around the world, online and offline, that are free, and explore what does it mean to co-elevate with others, so to not try to work alone. They can identify mentors in their local community, local university, or potentially somewhere online. And there are too many resources online, depending on where your listeners are. And of course, the greatest aspect of all is, today's generation can just access AI. And it doesn't really matter which one it is, whether it's a free version or not. My kids, 5 years old, 7 years old, and 9 years old, are very comfortable today to sit with me and to talk to GPT. And we talk to GPT to create anything from concepts about a birthday party, and then create the invitation and create the games and create the schedule and everything about it. And they'll even create a budget so that we know how much we'll need to spend together. And these are young kids, of course. For example, they have a farmer's market in the school, and they have to come up with some ideas of what they can create at home and then package and then sell
Yeah.
and then market at the actual farmers market themselves. And we built a mini business model with them together. And these are young kids, so they don't need to make money. They made quite a bit of money in that farmers market, which is funny because it's a lot. And it just reminded me that when I was 13 years old, I didn't have all these resources, but I really wanted to make money. So I asked my dad if he can help me with some ideas. And I remember that 1 month after I experimented with my first business idea, the first month, I made more money than my father did that month. Now, I don't know if he just told me that to make me feel good, but that's a memory that I clearly remember, that I made a lot of money that month. And it was really beautiful because today, everything that someone needs to have is curiosity. Number one, develop your curiosity constantly. Be curious, not why you don't have something, but what could happen if you did. What
So
needs
good.
to happen for you to receive it? And speak to mentors about it, speak to GPT about it, and explore that. So curiosity is number one. Number two, it's, I think, this mindset of, you know, it's kind of a connection mindset, or it's a complementary mindset, or it's a positive mindset. Call it what you want, but it's like, what is possible? How much is possible? It's not about can I do it or can I not do it. It's like, what resources do I need to get it done? Or like, how much time do I need to get it done? So it's more of a mindset of course, it could be done. Anything is possible now. 3 days, 7 days, or 100 days, we can create anything as human beings. And the third one is what in the corporate world they call follow up, but I just call it reconnection. There's connection, disconnection, and reconnection. These are three key pillars of networking. We're constantly in either connection, reconnection, or disconnection mode from within our network. And if the listeners learn to reconnect with people, maybe they'll start to understand that the connections they are currently making might be quite important. Doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter who you meet, but making an effort to reconnect with them, send them a thank you, ask them to go to another event, have a further conversation with them. Just again, be curious in them, compliment them in a nice way with your positive mindset, and follow up. Basically, start to build up a network that you believe in, because not because they have money or they're successful, is because you feel inside, and it doesn't have to be 100% confident feeling. It's okay to have some fears and some distrust in the beginning. It's completely normal, but feel that these people right now around us, instead of them holding us back, like sometimes people hold us back, feel like they have your back. Which means if you're like a young person playing some sports, you have a back. You got someone you can pass the ball to. Or if you're a young person currently looking to find his first job, you got it. You got someone that's got your back. They can introduce you to their boss, and you could potentially work with them. Keep in mind, it doesn't really matter how old you are, whether you're currently 18 or 47 young like me. It's always good to know that there's some people out there that they've got your back for one main reason. You have their back.
Yeah, I love what you're saying because it's so important for everybody to understand and young people too, because we've seen a lot of this, um, attitude, and it starts in school too. Obviously, this kind of like, I'm just for myself, and everything is for my benefit. Even like taking advantage of others. That's not the right attitude. You have to learn early on that you have to show up for some people. And like you said, it doesn't mean that you show up with resources, because if you're a young person, you might not have these resources, but you can reach out, you can reconnect, you can send a card, you can say hello and have a nice conversation. There is a lot a young person can do. They just have to understand it, that they might not have experience or resources, but they have something to contribute to. Well, it's this mindset, right? The idea about mindset is extremely important. I would like to, if you could also, these were just incredible tips for young people to follow, because they have to look into something. They graduate and they have to think of something. And like you said, look in local communities. Maybe you can get together with some friends from high school, because once you graduate, you're kind of gone unless you stay in touch with them. So maybe they can do something together and explore together these things, right? How we can maybe start a business. Or like you said, you can just go to maybe chat GPT and find different ideas. Like, what are some local resources, different things for people who would like to start business, community resources or things like that. We don't even know what resources are around us until we ask these basic questions. If you could tell us, because they can be also beneficial for many people listening, including young people, what are some projects, what are things you are doing right now, and some future projects that you are envisioning, and also where people can go and see your activity, that would be great.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for that. Just to comment on what you mentioned, we are surrounded by resources. It's really important that everyone that's listening remember this, that all the answers we need are all around us. All the money we need is all around us. All the friends we need are all around us. We need to choose to learn how to become more resourceful. Having a resourceful mindset allows us to understand that answers are there, just we don't have them. So In the past, you would need to call someone or Google it. Now you can ask GPT and make sure that when you're asking GPT, tell GPT, please don't lie to me or don't come up with answers. Please make sure you're 100% confident in the answer you're giving me. Make sure you do that with GPT because sometimes, AI out there will hallucinate just to make us happy. And it sounds very, very confident when it speaks to us, but the answers are not always correct. So being resourceful is understanding that if we need a job, don't apply for 2 jobs, apply for 50. When I was 14, 15, 16, 17 in high school and college, I would literally apply for sometimes 20, 30 jobs on the weekend just for fun, just to see if I can get them. And with most of them, I would even say, hey, thank you very much for the offer. No, thank you. I have something else. Just to build up my confidence. People out there can apply for jobs. It's the same thing these days when people are telling me, oh, I want to go dating. I want to find a date. I don't know where to go. I'm like, well, try speed dating. Speed dating is really wonderful because in one evening you can meet 10 to 20 different people from the opposite sex. You'll get 5 minutes in front of all of them. So if with 5 of them you mess up, it's okay. You
Yeah.
have 10 more. And that's something that I had to go through to practice how to talk to women. So being resourceful is understanding that you can hack any system you wish. Whether you call it a system or a matrix, whatever it really is, you don't have to follow the trends that exist. You can explore that there's other trends, there's other algorithms, there's other codes on how we can actually move forward in our life. So I highly recommend everyone there to hack the codes by following some good mentors, by connecting with me. Leave people 1 minute voice message to see how they respond to you. I believe that 1 minute voice message, it's so much better than sending people text that is mostly misunderstood. I'm constantly working on interesting projects to help humanity connect. My longest standing company has been around for 15 years. We've hosted and produced more than 2,000 events around the world, from Tony Robbins to small retreats and different get togethers and masterminds and master heart dinners. Meet Partners is all about connecting people together through collaborative partnerships. I have a movement called Cha Tea. I'm a huge believer in tea over alcohol any time of the day. And I believe that we can connect people very mindfully with a lot of presence, with a lot of intention, if we have a good cup of tea in between us. So that's a fun movement. And we're always looking for volunteers and interns and people to just find ways of collaborating with us. I'm still working with Tony Robbins. We have a really great upcoming event happening with him in Europe, in Germany in September. So if anybody wants to come and play with me at a Tony Robbins event, feel free to. And one of the biggest movements that I've recently joined is a company called Human Garage, which is currently the biggest leader in the world in education of fascia maneuvers. And it's very exciting for me to be a part of what is now the fastest growing wellness movement in the world. And I love how all of these movements are actually all connected to one thing: Gil's mission, connecting people in a beautiful, healthy way.
That's amazing. And if you could mention which platforms on social media are the best for people to follow you. You're probably on quite a few of them, but if you could mention the best way of,
Yeah, so depending on where people are active, there's only one Gil Peterson on Google. So, feel free to Google me and ask about anything you want. Try to even find some bad feedback about me. I'm very, very curious if anybody has put negative feedback about me. Super curious. But LinkedIn is really great for opportunities in business. Instagram is really great for fun, event information, if you want to get hacks. And Facebook, is Facebook. But connect with me, and don't just connect or follow me, but send me a nice friendly message and tell me that you heard about me from Dr. Barb, and maybe ask me a really good question.
You are amazing, and you also down to earth, and it's just a very very nice person who is so. I mean, you also study communication, so you have to practice what you preach, right? Is that what we're doing, right? We have to, and I really appreciate that. I mean, you're doing so much. You're involved in some really really big missions, and I hope that the audience will go and check out. And I know that also your website is very informative. It's structured like perfectly. I absolutely love it. Very easy to find anything there. So for audience to also check your website so they can have a deeper look like in what you're doing, what you're involved in. But I really appreciate this today because it can really, you just gave some awesome tips to many young people of of all ages, I would say, because this applies to anybody. Because, sometimes people might be, I don't know, in their 40s, 50s, and they just kind of like lost, whatever, and they need to pick themselves up. So guess what? Gil has some ideas about it, right? What do you?
It's important. I really want everyone to know that networking is a long life journey. I'm not an expert in networking yet, even though I've been called a networking guru by many, many newspapers and magazines around the world. I'm not. I think that I'm one of the greatest students of human networking in the world because I'm constantly studying it, understanding how much more is ahead of me. I'm constantly making mistakes in networking, and I see it, and I sometimes even catch myself. I've had more than 20 successful failures in business, so I know what it's like to lose money. I know what it's like to be broke, and I'm still not in the greatest position in my life, but I'm happy because I have 3 amazing kids, and I have a great international network that I can reach out to. I have beautiful opportunities that show up in my life because I have served my network, and I continue to serve my network, continue to make a difference. And anyone out there, it doesn't matter whether you're 10 years old, you're 18 years old, or you're 50 years old, you have a lot of value to give. And you could just discover that value by starting a conversation with some strangers and listening to them a little bit. That's a really great way of adding value. Just ask people some really good questions and listen.
I totally agree. And on social media, I mean, contributing some, meaningful comments to someone's post, that's really important. That you can build real friendships with people you don't know personally by just contributing the value in that way. You don't have to have degrees. You don't have to have successful businesses. You're just a young person, but you have a lot to contribute and help these people who are maybe even already well known. But this is an incredible opportunity to put yourself out there by being visible in those comments, right? Contributing in meaningful ways. But yes, you have to get something out of yourself. You have to do some service. You cannot expect that the world will come to you and give everything to you. That's not how it works. You have to, and that's what you said, you have to learn how to be in service to other people. And when you think you're too young and you don't have anything to contribute, you're very wrong. Sad. So I hope everybody goes and checks Gil's wonderful resources and his social media activity. And we have so much to learn from this because, networking, it sounds like it's like I know a little bit about it, but I would like to learn myself a little bit more too. I think we can always get better with this. And the same with communication. And I think these things go together, networking and communication skills. They go together very well. Gil, thank you so much for this conversation today. Thank you, our wonderful audience. Please make sure to follow the show, Get Inspired with Dr. Barb, so you never lose an episode. And let us know what you think about the conversation that we had. It connects to education, but not only. See you all on social media. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye. Thank you, Dr. Barb.
Thank you so much, Gil. I really appreciate it. This is Get Inspired with Dr. Barb.